how content works in the codex. We had a question from Everick, which is, I'm really curious how Codex handles Homebrew and how you can create custom items and things. And then there's also a question by Emissary about what are the plans around sharing of adventures, maps, and modules. And I'm going to talk a little about that now. And so the way that the Codex works is in your game, there is what is called a compendium. And the compendium is sort of the collection of rules of your game. So, and you can go to your compendium by going to this tools tab up here and clicking compendium. And in the compendium is listed like basically all of the rules of Draw Steel. And so, for example, right at the top is ancestries. And so this contains a list of all the ancestries. So if you wanted to add a new ancestry to your game, you would hit the little plus button here and you can make a brand new ancestry. And so, yeah, I see a couple of people added ancestries and then I guess deleted them. Maybe. And then you can change the name of your ancestry. You can edit it after creating it. And importantly, in the Codex, all creatures are basically like they have some very basic stats, but then they're a collection of what we call modifiers. And a modifier can do all sorts of things to a creature. It can give it more stamina. It can give it a bonus on its rolls. It can change its size. It can give it abilities. It can do many things. And a sort of, if you read the Draw Steel rules, they talk about characters having features. I think on ancestries they call them features, or maybe they call them traits. I forget. But anyway, a feature or a trait to us is just a bundle of modifiers. And so under the ancestry, you can add features to the ancestry. So I want to find a really nice simple one. Okay, so the High Elf Glamour trait, we'll see that this is a modifier which modifies power rolls. And what it does, like what the trait does, it looks like, is it grants you an edge on presence tests using the flirt or persuade skills. So yeah, this is a modifier, and what this modifier, it's a modify power rolls type modifier, and it applies to tests. I think that, it gives an edge on presence test. So this is set up to give an edge on presence tests that use the flirt or persuade skills. So you can see this is a setup that if you're a high elf, your high elf glamour gives you this modifier, and that will make it so that when you do a presence roll, if it's with the flirt or persuade skill, then you'll get an edge. Yeah, an edge. So you see here that it's set up with an edge. So
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For conditions, is there an easy way to implement a condition like grab that ends with the death of the grabber?
Death with the end of the grabber. So yeah, is that I don't think we have that implemented. Is that correct?
I don't think so. I was just wondering if there's a way to program it.
So the question was how to make it so the grab condition goes away when the creature dies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a Goblin Assassin. I mean, we have a lot of tokens, but why not add another one? And this Goblin Assassin is going to grab somebody. I like to firstly test something out. So this Goblin Assassin, he grabs the Shadow. He fails, of course, but I can just override the result and say no, he succeeds. And so the Shadow has been grabbed by the Goblin. But now the Shadow is going to kill the Goblin. I'll just kill the Goblin. So the Goblin dies, but the grab remains. Which we don't want. The grab should go away when the Goblin dies. And it does track that the Goblin is the one grabbing, because when we mouse over, you'll see this red line shows that it knows who grabbed him. So let's do that. So the way I would implement this is and I think when I love people asking questions about things like, and I'll do a demo of how to implement it. I may say yes or no depending on, I don't want to go straight to something really complicated. I think this is going to be relatively simple, I think. So grabbing is a condition. We see it here, grabbed. And to do this, what I would do is we can see that being grabbed puts a whole bunch of little of modifiers, which I talked about earlier. And one of the modifiers is the teleport, the triggered ability, where when you teleport, what does it do? It because I think that's a rule, right? That if you teleport and you're grabbed, it removes the grab. So you can see that this purge ongoing effect. It purges the grab when the creature teleports. And this is I think this is exactly like what we want. But we just want it so that when the person who's grabbing us dies, it should do the same thing. It should do it. So I'm going to paste that trigger here, and I'm going to edit it a little bit. And when the subject of it should not be myself, it should be, I guess I could say enemy or other creatures. Technically, my ally could have grabbed me, I guess. So it's not when I do this, it's when somebody else, when they die. So when another creature dies, the big thing is that they have to have a condition. And that condition is that they have to have condition caster is something which will tell us who created this condition that I have. So it should return the guy who grabbed me. What I want to do is I want to say that the person who cast grabbed is equal to the subject, i.e. the person who's dying. So if another creature dies, and this field is what is called goblin script, you get that, there's a little goblin icon next to it. And so the way that the codex works is a triggered ability is something that it's a trigger that goes off. And it can be a bit more expansive in its meaning than what is in the rules of Draw Steel. For instance, this is just like a very specific trigger that we're programming here. And so we say that when another creature dies, and the person who grabbed us is that creature who died, then we want it to purge grabbed off of us. So I think that should work. And what I like to do is I like to do something where I also add this float text, where that floats a text field above the character just to sort of, while I'm testing it, to confirm that, yeah, like this actually did go off. So let's try that. So if we go to the goblin, and why doesn't somebody else do it? Why doesn't somebody kill the goblin for me? Go and get the goblin and set his life to 0. Let's see if it works. There we go. Okay, and it did not work. Okay. That's a little disappointing. And I don't know, like, I'll try myself. Oh, okay, so when I did it, it did work. So that must just be because, usually the rule should update immediately for everyone, but this rule did not update immediately. So the person who did it must not have gotten an updated rule. Probably if you pressed F5. F5 is something that you press like anytime you want to like full refresh the codex. You can press F5. Most of the time when you update the compendium, it updates it for everyone. Occasionally you have to do an F5. I see somebody else already testing it over there, and it seemed to work for them. So we can see that's how to do it. That worked. Yeah, and then of course we would. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask David, now that you've made that change, does that mean that everybody running the codex everywhere has access to that, and that's the way it'll work for them?
Yeah. So good question. So the way that the codex works is in your game, you have a compendium. And so all of us in this game together are sharing this one compendium, which is a set of rules. Now, when you make a change, it makes it for your game, and you can share your changes in a module. So if we said, okay, like we fix this grab, I wanna give this fixed grab to everybody else. I could go publish module, and I could create a new module, and I could like proceed, and this will show me all of the contents of my game that have been modified by me or by any of us who have been using it. And so I could go and I could look and find Grabbed was modified, so I could check. Yeah, I want to ship the new version of Grabbed is what I want to put. So I want to make this module, and when we say module, we just mean any collection of content, and it can include maps, characters, and all sorts of rules, anything in your compendium. And then I would just like proceed and just fill in a few fields, and then you can share your module publicly or privately. And using a module is the easy way to share things between games. And it's what you can use just a module to share something from one of your games to another game. You can share it with your friends, or you can also publish it so everybody can get access to it. So if you choose to make it public, it'll go on this searchable modules list where you can download a bunch of modules. So you'll see that we have a bunch of modules that people have made already. Some are like maps. Somebody, I think Ricky, one of the developers, made the Delian Tomb Heroes. So this is a pack that you get, and it gives you all the heroes. We have we put the war dogs in a module where somebody's made something for macros for downtime, etc. So you can put things in a module, or you can just share them privately. I think that I want to do something eventually to make it even a little bit easier. Like if you just say like, hey, I have 5 different games I'm running, and I just want all my games to have the same rules. I think we want to make it a little bit easier to do that, because you can share a module back and forth, but that gets a little bit more friction than I'd really like. But yeah, that's the sort of basics of how that works, how sharing works. I think somebody had asked before the workshop, will there be procedures to stop the sharing of unlicensed maps, and will AI content be allowed? And is there more of a picture for monetization for creators? I think that those are all things that I can only speak about to a limited degree. I can say that like definitely legally we're required to we'll definitely of course follow the law in terms of handling copyrighted content, and then I do think that MCDM has plans for allowing monetization and definitely wanting partnerships, but I don't think those plans have been finalized, and I'm just a developer. It's the people at MCDM who have the savvy to work that out. But I know that like part of having this is that we definitely want to educate people on what is possible with the codex in terms of developing rules and things, because we're really interested in people developing content and being able to share it, and yeah, I think make money out of it eventually.
Now, I myself do have a question, Denny.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is more player side. But if you look over here at my hero, I have created a Stormwright, and if I were to go into its form, it changes to this picture. Is there a way to change this picture for more thematic?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a way to change it. I must admit, I've forgotten the exact way, but I'm happy to look. So we're looking at the kits, and the Vukan kit is what you have, Vukan, and so that has this wolf form feature, I think, which lets you change into a wolf. So it looks like it's an ability that lets you okay, so it looks like it searches the bestiary for something called Vukan, and that's what it uses. So I think that if we go and search the bestiary, yeah, we'll see that under Stormlight in the bestiary, that's where all of the Stormlight forms are. So you can go ahead and update them. And so I guess this is a good time to talk about if we deployed this guy on the map, I put a monster from the bestiary on the map. You can customize your monster, and then once you've customized your monster, you can update the bestiary, and then when you do that will like save the bestiary changes. So if we did that, so I'll change it to this wolf picture instead, for instance. And then we did that, and then we updated the bestiary entry. It's updated here, and now look, you've got that new wolf picture. So yeah, that's how to do that.
So where did you go to find it? So like, say for example, if it searches the bestiary under this miscellaneous, if you were to add a token for like custom Vuken, you can have it search that instead.
Like, is your question, do you want to make it so that your specific Stormlight changes into a different like
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. So I think at the moment you can only like you can only change it so all Vuken look like this. So if you had multiple Vuken in your game, I don't think you can customize so that each Vuken has a different wolf form. You can just change the Vuken that everybody changes into. I suspect that most people don't have a game where they have multiple Stormlight Vuken. So like I just recommend just changing this Vuken, and it will change it for your character.
You could change the path though, right? That it searches.
Yeah, because when you showed where the Vuken was in the compendium, it showed search or like a search query.
Yeah. So it's under kit. So where did we see it? Wolf form. And this one. So what it does is this means that it transforms, and it chooses like a monster from the bestiary to sort of base it on. And the query just says that the beast name is equal to Vuken. So if you really wanted to change your Stormlight, what you could probably do is give yourself a special version of this wolf form ability. So you could copy this ability and paste it into your character, and then we can try it. Let's see. So if we get this and we copy it, then I think let's see. If I go into your character sheet and then I post don't know. I can add so I paste the ability here. So custom wolf form, and I'll call this like custom wolf form just to sort of distinguish it and maybe give it a different icon. And so this will be your own custom version of wolf form that you've put just directly on your character, and you can say like custom Vuken, and then you can go to the bestiary and you can get this guy. You can change him around. So I'll just make him look like a dwarf right now. You can make him look, and then add as new bestiary entry, and then I think we can rename this to custom Vuken, and now we have custom Vuken, and I think that is wolf form a
maneuver.
maneuver.
If you go up to right below catch breath, that's in Vuken form.
Okay. So we end and then we go to custom wolf form, and there we go. So that's
okay.
Yeah. There you go. So you make a custom Vuken and do it there. Does anybody have any next questions or anything that they would really love to see implemented?
I guess I'm kind of wondering. I think I'm following how the monsters and class features and stuff would work. What about people making let's say map packs with objects and terrain pieces and stuff? So let's say Forgotten Adventures made a Draw Steel Codex version of their compendium of map assets. How would you go about making that into a module? Is that even possible?
Yeah, it is possible. So the way you would do that is so most map assets are under objects. And so, for instance, this bridge here is an object, and you'll see that like it's not selectable. It's just a bridge you can walk over. But if I go and select the objects tab, it's selectable and editable and everything. And so most of our objects are from a map maker called Tom Cartos, who was kind enough to let us use his assets. And so basically, you can import most 2D images as maps. I'll see if I have, if anybody have any sample assets that they would like to try. I'm happy to. Else, I'm gonna try to find. I know I had some good examples somewhere.
I have 1 million. What kind of map would you like?
Well, sorry, not a map. So I can show how to import a map. But what I was thinking is often people like, I think Forgotten Adventures does this. This is like an atlas full of images here. So if you decided that you wanted to, if you got this and you decided you wanted to import it into your into the codex, what you could do is you could say, okay, I'm going to add some new images and I'm just going to drag that over in here. It will take a moment to think about it. And what it does is when it sees a lot of people make their map assets like this, so it's got a transparent background, so the codex recognizes that, and you'll see that it's split up into objects. You can turn that feature off if you don't want it, and it will just treat it as one big object. But you can see that it broke it down into individual objects. I can say I want to add a new folder for these objects. What are these called? Battle Camp. So I'm going to add this new Battle Camp folder, and then I go import objects, and it takes a little think about it, and then it will add the objects to the codex. So now I've done that, and this should, I think, show up for everybody instantly. You should now see in your objects place. I've uploaded this, and you can now place down objects from there. So you can see that importing like just common 2D images is pretty easy. You can also the codex has a powerful system for like managing objects. For customizing objects. So all objects have, when you click on them, you get this property sheet, and objects have this like core property where you can customize things like their rotation, their scale, and so on, whether they have a shadow, whether their interaction with parallax and so forth. But you can also add different components to an object. So say an object is meant to be, for instance, a light. You can add a light to the object, and this gives you this new customizable thing where you can decide like, okay, it's gonna shed light, how far does it shed the light, and you can customize it on the spot. So you can adjust it, and then you can also make it like solid, so people can't see through it. You can make it, and that's actually something that is quite nice. So you can make it so that if I set it as solid, I can say exactly what I mean by solid. So I can say, yeah, that it blocks character vision, and it blocks light, and it blocks movement, and the codex automatically works that out. So just based on the shape, it automatically like makes it so you can't see through it, and it works out exactly what that means based on just the shape of the image. And it also treats it as something that can't be passed through. So I can't walk straight through it. It has me pass around it because I said that it blocks movement. And then there's a whole lot of things. You can make things into portals, into teleporters. So if you walk on them, they'll teleport you to another part of the map, or even a different map entirely. So there's a lot you can do here with like customizing objects. And then I think your question, Zarif, was sort of around how does that work as a module? Just like with anything else, you can we could now publish a module, and we could package all of these objects up into a module. And then all of these new objects, the battle camp ones, I could just select all of them and decide I'm going to package them up into a module and then ship them off to everyone else. When you ship a module, you do have to agree to our terms and conditions, so you're not allowed to just like go around shipping other people's copyrighted content. You have to have the legal right to distribute it. This module system, though, will be the basis for our having things sold. Like, I think that we'll eventually have something where we, if you're a content creator, you could put all your objects in here. I think we're hoping to do a thing where like I just showed, you can customize the objects a lot. So in an ideal world, I think that we would like to sort of have objects that are what we call codified, where they're made suitable for the codex, so that they like are all the correct size. They have really good shadows. If they're solid, they have the appropriate, like if you made a lamp object, it would have an appropriate light. So it just feels really good by default. But yeah, you would just package it into a module, and then once the business guys work out the legal and the commercial side of it, then you'd probably put it on our storefront or whatever and sell it. So that's basically how that works.
That's exactly what I was asking about. Thank you. After, let's say you took these assets and you made a whole map out of these assets that aren't by default in the codex, how would you go about just sharing the map with say a different dungeon master through a module? Would they need to also have the assets installed, or would the assets show up because you shared the map?
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really good question. And so there's a few things. So firstly, we do have a way to export a map. So you can export a map and flatten it down into an image, which if you wanted to, like, if you weren't sure if you had the rights to distribute a map with the individual assets, you can do that. You can like, if you want to share the map, because there is also a lot of value, right, in like sharing this map with another director, and they might say, well, I don't want there to be a bridge here. Having the bridge is a separate object. That's a big benefit, right? So I think that we're going to do like. I think that we have not worked that out completely, like what the story is there. I think from a technical point of view, we already have most of the things in place so that if we really wanted, we can do something where, like, if you share a map and it has some assets, and maybe you kind of have the rights to share the assets, but you don't really have the rights to like let other people have the assets, that we could do something that says that, like, you know, the existing objects can exist and be used, but you can't really like reuse them. You can't make new ones. So the person would get access to your object in the map, but they wouldn't get it over here in that object palette and be able to make a new one. And they probably wouldn't be able to, like, you can copy an object and then you can paste it. They probably wouldn't be able to do that either. We haven't like explored that far. That's probably something that we'll look at once we're a bit further on with working out the sort of the commercial side of things. But it's a sort of, it's a good question, especially like we want to make sure that, like, content creators rights are respected, and that is definitely, like, I can say that is something that MCDM is being very deliberate about in our discussions with them, that they want to make sure like that everybody gets treated fairly, basically.
And then last question on that note, where is all this being stored? Where are those assets showing up? Are those on my computer, or are those on a cloud? It might be a stupid question. I'm trying to figure out.
No, that's not a stupid question at all. That's actually a very good question. So the assets are like stored when I did the thing I showed you, I imported the assets. The assets all get uploaded into the cloud and they get stored on the cloud. And that's what enables everybody else to get them. And because of that, that means that like if I gave out this game code to somebody and I left the game, anybody can join this game and they will all immediately get these assets. They don't come off my computer. They're in the cloud now. As you might expect, everybody who gets them will also like automatically cache a copy of them on their computer for performance reasons, but the canonical copy of them is stored in the cloud. We have an approach where I think that's a really good question, but also people shouldn't have to ask that question or think about that if they don't want to. It should just work, and the easy way to do that is making it in the cloud. So like, it'll just work for you. I will also say that all of your compendium content, for instance, like is also stored in the cloud. However, your game is backed up, like all your character data and so on is backed up locally on your computer. You can configure how often it's backed up. By default, it'll back up every 20 minutes. So you can see that just having this game I set up earlier today, you can see that my computer's automatically made a backup of it every 20 minutes. If I hit restore on one of these, it would actually restore the game to how it was earlier, and we would all go like back in a time machine to an earlier version of the game. So we have that as an extra measure so that you don't like accidentally lose your data or whatever.
Related question: is there a way I can choose to host my stuff locally? I'm worried about one day it's we can't afford the fees to keep the servers running, and so now the VTT doesn't work. You know.
Sure. But anyhow, in answer to your question, we currently don't have a it gets stored in the cloud. Is the way it gets stored. I will say in terms of like business longevity, you never know when like I'm not going to promise you that we or MCDM or anyone else will or won't go out of business, but this is something which is very much a passion project of ours to make this product. And so I think that like if we were going to go out of business, I think what we would do is we would probably try to like release the source code. I don't think there would be any like imperative to keep that hidden or secret. And I think we would I think that our plan would be to sort of release the code to enable people to either rewrite to a different backend or to just like you could set up your own Firebase and pay the fees, or I think you could set it up with Firebase and probably not pay a fee if you were just running like a Codex instance just for yourself. We don't have that option though, self-hosting. Just because it's quite complex to like it simplifies it dramatically for us to just write something and just rely on Google servers to work and not have to think about like setting up servers and how they all work and all of that. So that's why we don't have a self-hosting option, and we feel like most people like it's only a minority of people who would use a self-hosting option. It is definitely something that we've discussed with MCDM though, and they said that potentially like we may include it as a crowdfunding option in the future if people are really interested in that, to help us fund like a way to self-host if that's something people are super interested in. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much real support there would be for that though.
Fair enough. Thank
What about local hosting then?
Yeah, that's the same as self-hosting.
Oh, okay. So like no way to do just like offline. I'm just sitting at a physical table with my friends, and the internet doesn't work or whatever.
Yeah. So if you wanted to use the Codex like just at a physical table, you could. But you would still need to connect to our service to do so. If the internet didn't work, if the internet doesn't work, yeah, you can't use the Codex. That's
okay.
Yep. No, that is definitely a limitation that we have. If nobody has any other questions, I was going to show like a really basic thing of how to set up like a power roll on a creature. So something that I like to do, if you have a character and like you can go into the character sheet, and I said not to use the character sheet, but this is the one thing I use the character sheet for. It has this big long list of all their actions. You can easily just add a new ability if you just want to add like a custom one-time ability. And I'm going to talk about the basics of adding, how adding an ability works. So if I want to add an ability, and I'm not very imaginative, so if somebody has a suggestion for just sort of a simple ability, I'm just going to call it stab. I don't know, sorry, like I'm not very imaginative. And so I'm going to make it take an action. You can make it have some keywords. So you can set up all of its keywords here, and then you can if you want it to take heroic resource, you can. I'll talk about these in a minute, but you can make it have the target type is who it targets. And let's actually make it more interesting. Let's call it vampiric stab, and it's something which will stab somebody, but you'll gain stamina yourself when you stab them. So you can set it to have a target type of a creature. You can do something here where you can do a target filter is a goblin script that will be run on every target, and if they don't pass the filter, then they won't be included. So if you wanted to only include certain like if you only, it's a vampiric stab, so maybe you only want it can't target undead or something. You can also do a newer feature we have is you can add something called a reasoned filter, and that means that you can sort of give somebody that they can't target, and you can give a reason why they can't, and that lets you mouse over and it will say like, hey, you can't grab this person because you can't grab people who are larger than you. And that's I really hate it in computers when you have something grayed out and you've got no idea why it's grayed out. So that's our effort.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So when you set that filter and I use a power in game, it comes up with a bunch of arrows that are pointing to all the valid targets. Those are all the ones that have passed the filter. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Except with the reason filter, it will still, anybody who fails a reason filter, it will show gray arrows instead of red ones, and then when you mouse over them, it will give an explanation. But yes, you're absolutely right that the filter red arrows, and anybody who fails the filter is not included. Yeah, perfect.
And the target count just gives you like how many targets you can select before the arrows go away.
Yes. Target count is how many you can select. And as a reminder, anything that has this little goblin head is a goblin script field, meaning that it can have a custom formula. So it doesn't just have to be a number. You could make it say like target count equals 1 plus intuition, and this would let you now target as many people as your intuition is equal to +1. So you can put in fancy any kind of calculation anytime you see this. And just to sort of show you that you can go formula documentation here, and it will give you all this documentation where it'll give you like examples. So it says like 3, have 3 targets, like 1 plus 1 when level greater than or equal to 5. So this makes the ability have 1 target or 2 targets when the caster's level is 5 or higher. And then it tells you all of these, like it shows you all of these different fields that you can use, and you can get documentation on what they all are. So this is super helpful if you're not sure what to type here. You can also do, I think this is kind of cool, you can do like a table, and you can do it by say your level. So you can say that example that I just showed, you could make it even more clear here, where you could go like, at level 1, they can target 1 person, but once they get to level 5, and would be 5 or higher, they can target 2 people. So you can do kind of a table, which is even kind of cooler. And then if you do this, it changes it back to a formula. So you can do all sorts of things when choosing how many people it targets. And so and same like range again, goblin script field. So you can make the range depend on some fancy formula that you type out. When an ability is used, it runs through a series of behaviors. And behaviors are like the things that an ability does. And like if there's something that an ability like can't do in the codex, often our answer is to go into Lua and say, hey, I've added a new behavior for you that should account for this. Now, the most common behavior is just in Draw Steel is ability power roll, which just does a roll on a power table. And you can see that it by default gives us this roll, but you can customize it. So you could say that this is going to use this is just going to use agility. It's 2d10 plus agility is the roll. And then we can fill in the tiers. So we're going to say that it does 5 damage, 8 damage, and then 10 damage. We can say that let's say that you heal 2 stamina, you heal 4 stamina. I'm not sure if there's any rules that do healing like this. Like, I'm not sure what healing would look like in a power rule table. Like, I'm not sure how they would write it for the attacker to heal. But I'm going to write it like this, and we'll discuss. So
real quick, while we're on this table, in terms of balancing, because you're doing editability, what's like a good rubric to follow for the numbers that you can put in? Because you just did 5, 8, and 10. Either that's off the top of your head.
Yeah, I did that. I mean, do not use this for any kind of game balance. This is a technical example of how to implement an ability. I have a game designer hat, but it's over on the shelf right now. I've got my programmer hat on. I'm not giving you any game design advice. You should go to James's stream and ask him for game design advice.
And we bounce it off of all typical powers of that level and type.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Sorry, that you would do it based on the ability
based on
that
existing powers.
for sure. That's what absolutely. Because like I don't know, like maybe this has a heroic resource cost, maybe there can be all sorts of things to go into the balancing. I mean, I wasn't imaginative enough to get beyond making an ability called stab. Please don't use this as a good game design advice thing. So that's how I do that. And so now I've set that up. We should see that he has his vampiric stab. And when I mouse over this, you can see that the codex is set up to recognize. And sorry, did anybody have are there any rules which actually do healing to the person who cast it? Like, I'm not sure how that would be worded.
They usually word it as in you can spend a recovery or.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Like
spend a recovery without losing a recovery value. Like it would say heal up to your recovery value is kind of what it would say.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. That's a really good point. That they always tie it to recovery. So this is probably breaking the game design rules that Draw Steel has. Like, it's breaking a bit out of the mold of normal Draw Steel. So as you can see, the codex, like, it tries to recognize text in power tables, and it does recognize that it's doing damage, but it doesn't recognize the healing part because why would it? So it grays it out, and if I use the ability, it will do everything it knows about. So when I roll it, it will do the damage, but then of course I didn't heal anything. I guess I'm full health anyway, so let's damage me so that we can show how we can make this work. So to make this actually work so it does healing, there's actually a couple of ways you can do it, and I'm going to show both ways. So way number one is that what you can do is you can add some more behaviors. So I can say that I'm going to add a heal behavior, and healing. And so this healing behavior, an important thing with these behaviors is this apply to field. This apply to field says who does it do it to? And so I don't want to do it to the targets. I want to do it to the caster. The caster of the ability is the one that's getting healed. And the amount that I want to get healed, there's again a couple of ways I can do this. I think I'm going to do it. We can type in a formula here for this roll. It can be a roll, but anytime it says like roll, you can just put in a static number, and like to the codex, a static number is like a degenerate case of a roll. So I could put in like a formula here because it's a goblin script field, but I could also be quite lazy, and I'm just going to say 2 stamina and just say that that's for the tier 1 result only. So this behavior only applies to tier 1. And then I'm gonna add another healing and say this one applies to tier 2 and is 4. And then I'm going to add another healing and say it's 6. And I need to remember to do it to casters, not to the targets. And so this will be set up to do the healing. Finally, what I can do is under this implementation, I can set this to be fully implemented, and this tells the codex, hey, this ability is fully implemented. So everything in every field is actually done, like I promise. And that means that the codex will highlight this as all complete, so that if you're using the ability, you can be assured that the ability will all work. So if I use this ability now, we can see I start off with 11 stamina. And I'm going to use my vampiric stab. You can see it's all in nice white text showing it's implemented. And then when I do the damage, we can see that I also healed for 4. So that is method number 1 of making that work. You might decide if it's sort of like there's some power roll text that's just kind of one-off text, and you might want to do it like this. But we might say, hey, we're doing our own new system that uses vampires and things, and we have a lot of text like this. We really like this you heal X stamina text. So we want to recognize that. So I'm going to go back to unimplemented. So this will again be grayed out. And then I'm going to show you how to teach the codex to recognize text like this. So I'm going to copy that text as an example, and we'll see that because I grayed it out again, we can see that it's grayed out again. So the codex no longer recognizes this. And we can go down to this power table effect section. This section of the compendium is all sort of stuff like it's sort of one layer deeper than the basic classes, ancestries and stuff. And in here, you can teach it about a new power table effect. And this stuff, this UI is a bit less developed than some of our other UI. So it does look a bit intimidating. But the way it works is I can give a name to this effect. So I'll say like healing. And I want to add a test case. So I'll add our text as a test case, and I'll add a second test case where I'll just give a different amount of stamina. And then we want to type in a pattern here. And a pattern is just some text that will be matched. And what we can type is like you heal amount stamina. And when I type this, you can see that it says match on both of these, saying that this is recognized as something that would match against either of these in a power table field. So I've typed this, and I've taught it that I'm going to show it how to implement whenever it sees this pattern. And what I can do is, this is like just the standard ability form, and the thing that it's really interested in is any behaviors I add. So I'm going to add just a healing behavior, just like we had before. I'm going to add a healing behavior. And here, I'm going to, again, make sure that I do it to the caster. And I'm going to, we called it amount. And I could have given it any name I wanted. But so here, we just do the same angled brackets, and we just go amount. And so it will run this, but it will substitute this for whatever number it found there. So we do that, and now if I use the ability, we'll see that it recognizes the text because I added the pattern. And when we do the roll, it indeed heals me for 4. So you can teach it about new power table text like that. Maria pointed out healing not tied to recovery, blessing of life.
Yeah, I think the usual phrasing they use is you regain X stamina, or you regain stamina equal to some other value.
Okay,
That's how
cool.
I did the healing potion.
So you could reword it slightly and do what I just did to make that all work.
So I had a quick question. If we're trying to create a custom class and we have that class using custom keywords that aren't present in the base classes for Draw Steel, how difficult is to set up a custom keyword for an ability?
So to add new keywords, what I would say is that is something that I think I would like to one day probably have like a keyword section in here where you could add keywords. It would probably be pretty simple. We don't have that right now. So you have to use Lua to do it, which so to go back one step, the Codex uses Lua, which is a programming language, which is very common for modding games. Lots and lots of games like, say, World of Warcraft or Roblox or many, many other games use Lua as a modding language, and that's what the Codex uses. And it is a programming language, and I want to emphasize that the Codex, one of the big goals is to make the simple things easy and the complex things possible. So we don't think that most people should have to use Lua. So and if you wanted keywords, you could probably work out enough Lua to do it, or you could probably beg somebody else to make your module, and they probably would, because anybody who knows even a little bit of programming, this is pretty easy. So I'll show you the process. I'll show you the process for doing it, which is you would go into code mods, which is right at the bottom of the modding section. And code mods are where we store all of our Lua code. So all of the Lua code driving the Codex is here. You can come and browse it and look around for it. What is an example of a keyword that is used in Draw Steel that is not used so melee is a keyword. What are some keywords? Area is a keyword. I just want a word to search for that'll take me to where the keywords are defined. So here. So as you might be able to guess, this is the thing that defines all of the keywords in Draw Steel that the Codex knows about. Now, if you said, did you have a keyword that you wanted to add?
So I'm working on like a ranger sort of subclass, and one of the things that has it marks something as a quarry, and I have a keyword idea where the abilities change depending if they have like this quarry tag. So it'd be QUARRY, that type so
Oh, okay, yeah, got it.
Like a hunter's quarry. Yeah.
exactly.
Yep. So all you would do is you would say, okay, this is where the Codex defines all its keywords. And you would say, you can't really modify this code because this is part of the Codex. This is part of the Codex's core code. But you would say, okay, I'm going to make my own Lua module. So you can just hit this little plus button and you make a new module, and we'll call it the Ranger mod. And you check out the code, and we'll call this the Ranger code. And here you just click edit, and it will open this in a text editor. And then you would just get one of these lines, and you would just paste, and you would just do that. And you would save it. And then if we add an ability, so we have our ability, add keyword, you'll see the quarry is there now. And if I even the way the coding works is when you check out the code, it means it's just on my computer. Once I'm ready to give it to everybody else, I can go check in. And then you do have to restart the Codex entirely, but if you restarted the Codex and came back into this game, the quarry keyword would now exist for you. So I would say that Lua is kind of a gentle ramping language, is what I like to call it. That it has this really gentle ramp where there's a lot of things you can do in it that are really pretty simple. And then there's a lot of things you can do which are not simple at all. But just to get started with it, it's not that hard if you want to do pretty basic things. And if you want something like that, generally, like I said, me or there's other people who are probably pretty willing to help, and you can package up a code in a module and just send it and say, hey, I just made your Ranger module with the quarry keyword, and it's this module ID, so you can install it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
How about adding a custom effect that a particular monster faction might apply?
So do you have an example?
Not well, there's a decent amount of factions that apply burning to targets, right? But it's not a condition per se. It's like kind of a custom monster condition. So let's say there was a monster that had Angulados have wet, I think, right?
Yeah, they do. Yep.
So something like that, where it's
Sure.
like,
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that. So the way that these kinds of things work in role-playing games is actually a little bit complicated. So we have in the codex, we have a concept of what we call conditions, and conditions are like pretty similar to the conditions you'll find in Draw Steel. There's a couple of things that are not listed as conditions in Draw Steel, which we do model as conditions in the codex. But conditions are sort of like something that gets put on somebody with like very well-defined rules about how it works. It's sort of very like narrow, and the duration of a condition is just like end of turn or end of encounter, or like save ends. Those are the durations. So a condition is something very, very specific. If you want something that's much, much more general, like this creature gets like a bane on its next strike, but that bane like is only against Anguillottles or something, you would do that as what we call an ongoing effect, and they're much more sort of flexible than conditions, and there's a lot of ongoing effects we have. So probably for most things you would want to add a new ongoing effect. So you said well, I like the idea of burning, so let's go with that. So so I could add a new ongoing effect called burning, and I'm going to call it burning, and then we're going to say that if you're burning, well, let's try this. I like the idea of having let's try to put our game designer hat on a tiny little bit and say that burning is going to be this interesting condition that what happens is you can spend an action to end burning, but it'll do damage to you. It'll do like 1 damage to you, and then it'll increase the amount of damage to you by 1 for the next round. So you burn and you burn more and more and more until you finally decide that you're going to deal with the fact that you're burning. So let's try to make this work. That's somewhat complicated, but let's go. So for this condition, I would make it what we call stackable, which means that you can have like multiple stacks of the condition, and it will count how many stacks of burning you have. I'll put this cool animation we have on it too, because I think that'll work well. So with burning, the way it would work is that when at the end of your round, at the end of your turn, you'll take damage. So let's do that. So end of your turn. So when you end turn, you take damage, and so it applies an ability to yourself, and it does damage. So it does fire damage, and it does fire damage equal to the number of stacks of burning you have. So stacks is actually a keyword. Yeah, so it'll do stack damage, and it will be fire damage. So that's what you'll take at the end of your turn. And then also, it will give you another stack of burning. So it will apply an ongoing effect to you. And the ongoing effect to you is you get more burning. So it'll apply 1 stack of burning to you as well. So that's how burning works. And then you also get an activated ability, which takes, I don't know, an action or maneuver, probably a maneuver. And if you use this, you get to remove burning from yourself. So you get to purge ongoing effects, and so you purge burning. Yeah, so you should get a.
You could call it snuff flame.
Yeah, there we go. That's much more interesting. That I think should work. So let's try it out. So our shadow becomes burning. Okay. he's burning, it puts this fiery effect on him. And then he should, at the end, so we'll draw steel, and so he's going to take his turn. He's got 19 health. He gets insight. And then at the end of his turn, he took 1 damage, and he also now has 2 stacks of burning. So let's see if this still works. That now he is on his next turn, and at the end of his next turn, he should take 2 stacks of damage. So he takes 2 damage, and now he has 3 stacks of burning. So yeah, we can see that the burning works. Oh, and then he should have a maneuver to snuff flame. And that snuffs it out. So we've added burning, and then finally let's like give this very sadistic goblin a way to apply burning. So on the sword stab, he also applies burning. So let's just do that. So he applies an ongoing effect to the target, and the effect he does is burning. So let's try that out. So this shadow is going to be burnt. So we put it on his sword stab. So yeah, it applied burning. So yeah, there we've added a new complete effect with, I think, a pretty interesting mechanic. And you can see it all I think works pretty well.
That's pretty neat.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, it also makes a basis for future weapons you can implement, like a heated metal
My
sword.
first thought, exactly, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's fun. It's fun to play around with all the different mechanics you can make. Does anybody else have any other questions or things they would like to help getting working?
So you were showing when the goblin grabbed the shadow, that the grab effect on the shadow showed who was grabbing him.
Yeah. Yes.
But I noticed if you manually add grab to the shadow directly from his own interface,
then it doesn't.
It's not connected. Is there a way to give more information to manually added things, or does it have to come through an ability effect?
At the moment, if you add grabbed, you can't say who grabbed you unless you made it come through an ability. I will say that it's very easy to make it so that on a condition you can say track caster. This is a thing. If you check that, it does mean that when you automatically use grab with a condition, it will track whoever grabbed you. Most abilities don't have that. I think at the very least we do want to make it so that if a condition has that track caster set, when you set it, we'll probably have a little icon that you can click, and then it will invite you to click on whoever grabbed you, so that it can track it. But we don't have that done yet. I would say that we're kind of committed to doing that, just because, like I said, we have a premise that anything that is automated should be done. There should be a manual way to do it as well.
To that point, you can also just grab at any range. The codex will let you spend more maneuvers and actions than you could technically spend, so you could just spend grab as an extra maneuver, and it would link your token to the mouse over.
The action economy, right?
Go ahead. Sorry, Denny.
No, you should go ahead.
No, I mean, you answer better than I do, but that's how I've handled that in the past, where when I needed to add an effect, you just make the person do it again or whatever. And it's,
Sure.
There's a certain point where the codex still works like a tabletop game. It seems to infer the rules, but doesn't enforce them. You can go back, you can undo shit and start over and go over, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. In terms of sort of messing with the action economy, if you do it, it kind of does, but generally tracking action economy, is something that actions are very temporal things, right? That end at the end of your turn. So usually, if you wanted to grab somebody, it's probably not your turn anyway, because you probably like have it went past your turn, and then you were like, hey, isn't that person meant to be grabbed by me? And the director's like, oh yeah, grab them, and then you just use the maneuver and grab them, and because it's not your turn, the codex will just ignore the fact that you don't have a maneuver, and then on your next turn you'll refresh your maneuver. And if it was your turn and you did have a maneuver, yeah, like the codex will use your maneuver to do the grab, but then you're going to know that you already have another maneuver. Like, it's not like maneuvers are something which are tracked by the codex, but it's not something like stamina where, like, if the codex doesn't remember it, you're probably not gonna know how much stamina you should have.
Right.
So yeah.